And blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. We're joined by Dr. Tommy Ahlquist, up very early on the campaign trail already. Sir, thank you for joining us so early.
Good morning, Kevin.
When we take a look at, family values and the life that is going on, you have conducted yourself great in your personal and professional lives. When you hear about what's going on with all the stuff out of Hollywood and Washington and how Idaho is so unique to these, immune to these scandals, if you will, what do you think the state of, I know this is a little heady, sir, but we're just, trying to make sense of things when we're talking about, people behaving badly, men behaving badly, and whether or not public officials and politicians should be role models, sir.
What a problem that it is. I know, Kevin, I've worked with this for years with the Faces of Hope Foundation and the treatment center we have down in downtown Boise, where we try to get awareness and education. I think this is going to end up being a good thing for everyone, that now we can talk about it, get it out there, and we can start educating people on the awareness of this problem. We've known that's been there for a long, long time. But I think that I never thought this would happen like it has. But it's good that we're having conversations. It's good that we're talking about who we should be, and it's good that this is coming out and that we can start moving forward. And hopefully we can learn from this, and we can continue on this path of awareness and education and prevention, and we can start behaving like we should. Of course, I think years ago, when Charles Barkley said, "I'm not a role model," of course he's a role model. Anyone that's in the public eye that's looked up to, that leads, is a role model. But more important than that, we need to start getting back to those values that have made us great, right? The values of our country, and treating people with dignity and respect, and teaching how to be families and how to take care of each other. I just got back last night very, very late from North Idaho and spent 2 days up there with a couple of just inspiring people that are doing such great things to increase and improve their communities and the values, and teaching about God, and teaching about and how we respect and care for each other. And those are the things that are so inspiring to me. Pastor Tim up there in Coeur d'Alene, and then Pastor Jim up there, they're doing amazing things. I just left them last night, and those are the kind of things hopefully we can talk on and build on. We're in a battle right now of secularization, though, where church and God and the values that we should be teaching and espousing of taking care of each other are just on such an attack across this country. And I think it's time we push back and start treating each other well. And I don't know. Those are my thoughts this morning early.
Well, we appreciate you getting up with us with a quick turnaround, sir. We understand it's been a long day, and we are sensitive to that. When we talk about the faith-based community and your time in Coeur d'Alene, how does that contrast with what we hear out of Boise when it comes to politics and governance and Washington? Are they two totally separate worlds, and can we get that compassion and that real-world understanding to translate into our government?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, obviously, you're talking to a guy that's on the outside that's trying to get into this. I think that's what our forefathers intended, was that we didn't have career politicians, that we came from the real world, came in, tried to make a difference for our community. And so I think we can. I think it's up to each of us individually in our lives, whatever our business, whatever we do for our day jobs and with our families, to have awareness and to talk about this and to get out there. So I think it's both the private sector and our political sector. It's everybody. This dialogue we're having will be healthy, but we need to learn from it and improve.
Dr. Tommy Ahlquist with us, Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. Of course, hopefully we'll see you tonight at the Idaho Chooses Life banquet. I know you're a part of the planning committee, and David Ripley and I were talking about this week. Life is a very important issue to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be there tonight with Shanna and my son-in-law and daughter, but we are excited to be there with you. The great work that David does year-round. For me, this is a very personal issue, again, as a physician and someone who has seen the devastating effects of abortion. So, yeah, I'm very excited to be there with you tonight, Kevin, and what a great cause. And I know you've been involved for so many years, so thank you for what you do to bring awareness and, again, education and to help.
Well, Dr. Ahlquist, and again, I apologize for this. I wanted to thank you for your donation to Miller's Mission. I know you said to be quiet, but you know us talk show people in the media, we can't shut up, but I wanted to personally thank you for that.
Hey, coming off last week, what an inspiring story after story after story of what you're doing to help. I think it's those are the kind of actions that really make a difference. I mean, one thing that I've learned in this last year, if I could tell you just one thing, is that there's a lot of people that talk in this world, and then there's people that actually do. And Kevin, thank you for doing and setting that example.
Well,
I was out of town that whole week, and then I listened to your show, actually driving down in Eagle, and I just thought, oh my goodness, the stories. If we can just listen to the stories and the way we actually get in and help people. Thank you for making a difference, and it was a very small thing that I could do, but that's what makes the world go round. If we can get together and do small things and help each other in the community, and have those pure intentions of making lives better. Miracles happen, and I know that you've been involved for years there too, and thank you for what you've done there.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ahlquist. As governor, would you use your office to be more active in those type of nonprofit endeavors?
Oh, I sure would. One of the things that I asked yesterday, I spent all morning. It was, we had meetings all day long, but the highlight for me yesterday was with Pastor Tim up in Coeur d'Alene. And here's a guy who for years has dedicated, once he found himself, has dedicated himself to saving folks that are right out of prison. And he has a women's house and a men's house. And if you can imagine this, Kevin, he takes these individuals that have a 10% success rate of staying out and has an 80% success rate. And the way he does it is by pulling them together, giving them a family setting and teaching them about God and a higher power to help them through their problems. They've failed in life because they've already tried on their own. They've already tried on their own to figure this out without God. And to watch what he has done and the money that he has saved the state, he figures that it's well over $50 million by not having the recidivism of these folks going back into the program, back into the system. And the morning meeting that I'll never forget is we went and toured several of his facilities. But the first one we went in was the women's facility. We walked into their kitchen at 8 a.m., and there they are sitting around a table, and for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, listened to the testimonies of these women whose lives have been changed by finally learning. And the first question he asked is, how many of you have been in and out of rehab? All of them raised their hand. And then he said, what's made this different? And then listening to them talk about the difference when they put God in their life and they learn about a higher power to help them through their problems. And just listening to them go around the table was unbelievable. Same thing as soon as we went to the men's house. So, yes, we need to do something differently. Doing it the same way we're doing it's not. And we all know that if we have more purpose and that we understand who we are far better off than when we don't. And that's what we heard after woman after woman, man after man. As soon as I understood who I was and my relation to God, then all of a sudden I had a different perspective on how I can get through this. What an amazing, amazing experience. And it wasn't just what you heard, it's what you felt when they talked. So grateful for that experience yesterday. I'd heard about it for a long time, but like a lot of things in life, Kevin, you hear about it with words, but until you go experience it, you feel it, and you see the difference, and you can believe that difference, the difference between 10% and 80%, and that program is working.
Dr. Tommy Ahlquist with us, Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio, talking about the campaign and, of course, his plans and his proposals and such. Now, you're a smart guy. You're a developer, community guy, a doctor, an ER doctor. Again, when we have you on, 95% of us feel like underachievers, sir. However, when we're talking about the education of what it takes to be a politician, of going to these counties, to these cities, how does that compare to your formal education?
Oh, it's. I think I really enjoy it. When I go back to my training and all the time I spend in the emergency room. I mean, you see 40,000 patients, Kevin. You walk into a room; those are 40,000 different families you meet. People come in broken. Sometimes it's obvious because it's a broken bone, but a lot of times it's not obvious because they're broken spiritually and they're broken somehow the way that they're not going to tell you. And you have to get really good at just listening and hearing and diagnosing and treating. And I think years of doing that has prepared me for going out and listening to people. So whether we're talking about education or healthcare, that's everywhere you go. What are we going to do to fix this? Because it's killing me. It's been great to go listen to the problems, but also to hear the solutions that are potentially there. And I love process in my mind. The way my brain works is when I listen to people, we talk about where we are. And once you get a big database, I guess, in your head of all the things that you've heard and listened to, then you can't help but start thinking about the solutions. Okay, how do we fix this? How do we bring people together and fix this? Because we're Idaho, Kevin. We are not some big, giant state with big urban centers that can't be nimble and fix things. We have 1.683 million people. We have the greatest people in the world here with this can-do Idaho spirit. And I am 100% confident that if we get the policy that gets the government out of the way when it should, but provides excellence when it should for education, infrastructure, and things that matter to get things going, and then let the private sector take off and solve some of these problems, we're going to be absolutely fine because of the people. So I think they kind of go together. I think it's prepared me for getting into this, and hopefully I can take some of that real world knowledge and use it when I govern.
Well, let's talk about your recent proposal on how to deal with the drug crisis that not only impacts Idaho but the entire country, sir.
Yeah, that came from, it was very organic. You know, when you go around all these different little communities and start meeting with hospitals and families and schools and law enforcement, especially first responders, you know, our good paramedics and EMS providers around the state, it is an issue. I think that the point is we need to get ahead of the issue. You know, part of this problem, Kevin, happened, there's been a long-time addiction to opioids, mostly through prescription. People that didn't intend on it, they had a surgery, they were overprescribed, they got hooked on an opioid they can't get off. There was one big change a few years ago. You know, the drug that I prescribed over and over again through the ER was hydrocodone. It was Vicodin or Norco, the trade name. And when that changed to become triplicate in the way that it was written, so you have a prescription that you can't call in, you have to go pick up, and you have a triplicate prescription to write, it became much harder to get. And so what that's done is it has driven people to heroin and some of the, you know, the different opioids that are on the street. The problem with them is they're injected. And now you've got a problem where you went from something that was harder to overdose on to something that's much easier. And the point with opioid addiction is, unlike methamphetamine that I've taken care of my whole career, is it's hard to OD on meth. You take care of people, they think they're going to die, their heart's racing, there are problems and challenges with that. But this is different. And with awareness and education and in programs that allow us to get Narcan where it is, and you know, that's a big problem across state. Just yesterday, I spent time with state police up in North Idaho. We sat down and talked about the problem there. It is a huge problem. It's a silent killer. It's 218 people a year, and we need to get ahead of it. So this came very organically, but it's something that we should be approaching with aggressive actions that will help with education, awareness, and treatment. And then we need to help people. You know, none of these folks are going to be able to do this on their own, and $1 worth of investment on this is going to save hundreds on the back end. And so we just need to have a way of attacking it. It's going to be very important when I govern.
How important is this program? What happens if we continue to ignore the problem? What are the consequences?
Well, the consequences right now, first of all, is just death. I mean, you have 218 people we lose because of it. But secondly, it is going to grow, right? You look around us and you talk to law enforcement, like, again, just like I did yesterday for an hour. It is coming. It is in the nation. And people say, well, we're not as bad as Kentucky right now. We're not as bad as Arizona right now. Well, we are getting there. It's coming. It's getting worse. We're surrounded by the problem, and we have it in the state. It will just continue to worsen. Opioid addiction is so terrible because people, you know, the receptors on your cells that crave this opioid, they just keep going up and up and up and up, and you can't get enough. And it destroys families, it destroys lives, and it is a place where we can make a difference now.
Dr. Tommy Ahlquist with us at KIDO Talk Radio, getting ready for the campaign, of course, on the trail as well. He'll be at Idaho Chooses Life event at Eagle Christian Church tonight. Stop by and see him, ask him some questions. It's a great family-friendly event. How goes the campaign? And again, how do you stay motivated considering the primary election is such a long way off, sir?
Oh boy, Kevin, it's funny you say that. It's only 5.5 months now, May 15th, and it's all over. I mean, I've been doing this for a year. I don't. I've been pretty good at just in my life of keeping my head down and working and not thinking too much about it. But I see that date as it's just coming fast, and there's so much to do. We live in this amazing state that people want to meet you. They want to shake your hand. They want to trust you. And my goodness, they should. This is an important ask that I'm asking, right? To become the governor of the state, to be trusted, to move policy forward to help families of Idaho. They want to meet you. And so, we just finished our 44-county tour in 44 days. That was 44 different town halls, open to everyone, media, public, just people coming in, ask whatever they want. We just finished that. Again, we've been on the road all week. This has been an incredible week this week. I spent Tuesday down in the Magic Valley and then the last 2 days up in North Idaho. We had 9 meetings 2 days ago that were some of the most unbelievable meetings you ever had. So it energizes you to get out. People want to meet you. It's going great, but there's only 5.5 months left. So we got to take advantage of every single sunrise and sunset and just work our tails off and leave it all there because there's no second place here, Kevin. There's first place, and then you get to go do what you say you want to do. Second place, that's not a good result because you can't go in and do the things that you've been talking about for a year and a half.
Dr. Ahlquist, you've been at the forefront of bringing your proposals out. Let's talk a little bit about your first 100 days in office, working with the legislature, how you differentiate yourselves from your primary opponents.
Yeah, that's been an important one. And again, these things come organically. As I've been spending all my time meeting with people, the opioid policy came organically. The $100 million came organically. You start talking to people in cities and communities around the state. The way cities spend money, Kevin, they stretch those dollars as far as they possibly can. I promise you, I've sat with more than 80 governors and gone and sat with more than 80 mayors, and you go through their budgets and what they're doing in their city for maintenance and taking care of people. There are examples all over the place of how our state could spend our money better. Now, we have a $3.5 billion budget with a B, and all we've said, every week in our business, every Monday morning, we sit down and have a meeting. We talk about sources of money, uses of money, and how we're going to use that money better. That's all we're saying is there's a better way to use some of our money. We're going to find $100 million in wasteful spending, and we're going to use that. We're not going to cut needed programs. We need infrastructure. We need education. We need the things that make sense. But I do believe that there are antiquated systems. There are things that have been done the same way for decades that can be improved to save taxpayer dollars so that we can invest that where it needs to go. If that offends people, then let's offend them all day long because there is money to be saved. I've given specific examples for months now on where we can find that. I know when I get my nose under the circus tent and go through things line item by line item, there's even more. But the only thing we're saying is let's make our taxes as flat as fair as possible, and then let's use those dollars effectively. Let's make sure we're being as cautious and using those sacred tax dollars as well as we would if it was our own money, because it is our own money. I think we've gotten it wrong. I had a very disturbing conversation with somebody about 2 weeks ago, and about halfway through, I thought, this guy doesn't get it. It was someone that had been in government their whole life and a good person. I'd known this person for a long time, but I sat listening to him, and I thought, this guy, he thinks that we work for the government. He thinks that all I do in the private sector is to support them and work for them. That is not the way this works. They work for us. The government works for us. And that attitude change needs to happen because it is the families and small businesses all around this state that are taking those hard-earned dollars with more pressures because of mandates, because of things that their pressures they're facing, and they're taking that money and giving it to the government to trust them that they'll spend it effectively. Now, if we can't even say we're going to find $100 million and use it more effectively without having people just go crazy around you saying that's not possible, there's no way we're 100% efficient, no way. And all we're saying is we're going to find 3% and spend it more effectively.
Dr. Tommy Ahlquist with us. Dr. Ahlquist, we appreciate you. We'll see you tonight, and we really, really appreciate the quick turnaround, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, Kevin. Look forward to it. We'll see you tonight.
Take care. Have a good night.
Okay, thanks.
All right, our great friend, Dr. Ahlquist, Dr. Tommy Ahlquist joining us. If you'd like to comment, 580-5436, 580-KID. Remember, again, Idaho Chooses Life Banquet tonight. We'll be there. Dr. Ahlquist will be there. We'd love to see you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And at 6:34, Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up, Rachel Sutherland of Fox News Radio. But we go to Peyton. Good morning, Peyton.
Good morning, Kevin. What crazy news we have in the world lately. I like to let others speak on that because there's so much to say and they do a great job. But I did have something important to say this morning. I like everyone to take a breath. It's hard to remember.
Well, Peyton, we took a breath, and then, unfortunately, your phone cut out. Now, it could be your phone, could be ours here at the broadcast center. Give us a call back. We'd love to hear from you. Again, but we like to listen to our friends and neighbors here in the Treasure Valley. We apologize for that. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Lots going on in the news today. Coming up, one major media duo attacks the president's, competency. We'll get to that in a minute. Sorry about that, Peyton. You're back on KIDO Talk Radio.
Geez, I apologize. Anyway, I wanted people to take a breath. It's hard to remember how far we've come with all the protesting going on constantly, but we drink from the same drinking fountain today. Women that used to not have a voice, that probably lived in environments getting assaulted every day, but didn't have a voice to come forward, don't have to live like that anymore. You know, everyone can vote. We forget about that, and there's a lot of complaining. I just think we have a beautiful country. I love that we're trying to make it better. I love your show. Everyone have a great day.
Peyton, thank you. You have a great day, too.
Yeah.
And it's as he said, it's nice to appreciate the little things. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The president is up and at 'em.
These massive tax cuts will be rocket fuel. Little rocket man, rocket fuel for the American economy. He is a sick puppy.
There you have it. The president of the United States never won for, I don't know, just whatever you want to say about him. Are we going to get a tax break or a tax hike? Will the deficit blow up? Thankfully, I just have to ask these questions with the answers live to Capitol Hill, KIDO Talk Radio, Fox News Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Rachel, good morning.
Well, good morning, Kevin. The Congressional Committee on Taxation says the deficit will blow up if you consider adding $1 trillion to the deficit, blowing it up. That's even after accounting for economic growth. So you had, about this time yesterday, Senate leadership and the GOP celebrating, saying they're in the home stretch for this tax reform bill. And then after this report came out, it was like a cloud came over because Republicans had asked for this report. I think they were expecting something far different. It's like you took a math test, sure you got an A on it, and it came back with a D+.
I really thought I mastered that long division, yes.
Yeah, I really thought I had this right. So apparently, after they huddled on the Senate floor yesterday, and it almost went back to committee for a few days, which would have been pretty devastating for Republicans, they were able to keep it on the floor, and they spent the wee hours rewriting part of the tax bill. And there's a couple of things they're considering to be able to pay for this. So they're looking to satisfy budget hawks who are concerned about the deficit. There's only a couple of them, really, Senator Bob Corker, Senator Jeff Flake. I think James Langford had expressed some concern as well. But they could end up maybe satisfying their concerns by possibly increasing the corporate tax rate at some point down the road, and also bringing back that alternative minimum tax on high wage earners. Now, that's not a very popular tax, and it's pretty much repealed every year, at least on a one-year basis. You always hear about this. So those are two ways that they could bring this, revive the bill, because at this point, it's really suffering. It's languishing because of this report, at least partly because of this report from the Joint Committee on Taxation.
Rachel Sutherland joining us from Capitol Hill, Fox News Radio, Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Any other words on the Conyers situation at all?
Well, last I heard, he was in the hospital and for stress-related symptoms. He's not a young man. And pretty much the entire Democratic caucus has called on him to resign amid these allegations about sexual harassment. The blast check I had, and I've been in tax world, was that he had no intention to do so. Even Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi calling on him to resign. I believe his lawyer was saying, well, Nancy Pelosi didn't elect John Conyers, and as you know, he's been in the Congress for since 1964. He's a civil rights icon. He's been around for decades. He just doesn't appear to be going very gently into any good night. He appears to be wanting to hold on. As far as I know, Senator Al Franken has no intention of resigning. And during this really unbelievable and unprecedented situation where men are losing their jobs because of these accusations, many of them are admitting to them. In Conyers' case, he says he didn't sexually harass anybody.
Well, and then the comments by his chief of staff concerning Nancy Pelosi, and she's not going to decide, or maybe it was a spokesperson, the voters.
I think it was his lawyer, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, he's really seeming to be digging in his heels here on this because he feels like he was wronged. I mean, again, I believe he's over 80 years old, and here he is in the hospital with stress-related symptoms. He's probably not handling this whole situation very well at all. We do know that there was a settlement at one point with a female staffer. Conyers' office says that was actually a severance payment because she left the office, whereas she claims that was kind of a payoff for her silence. So, look, this is a time of reckoning in the sexual harassment arena that we've never really seen before. I don't know really where it goes from here. I've been wanting to pick the brains of men, but I can't get them really to talk to me about what they really think about of all this. But at least when it comes to the Hill, there's been no changes really in staffing, whereas you see people like Matt Lauer and Garrison Keillor, a Prairie Home Companion, losing their jobs. It's just been really unbelievable.
Well, and you couple it with the congresswoman that says that the news media has higher standards than Congress.
It looks that way. See, the thing is, they serve constituents who voted them in, so they've got millions of bosses, right? Yeah. So we have maybe 1, 2, or 3 in the big cheese in office that can show us the door and cut our key card.
Yes.
In this case,
yes.
Right? In this case, they're constituents. Maybe calling on them saying, please don't step down, you're a voice for us. And it would be a complicated and difficult decision for anybody in this situation.
Finally, John Conyers, 88.
88, thank you. I didn't want to push him up that high, but I knew he was over 80.
Holy moly. I mean,
yeah,
you love your work.
He's not a young man.
You love your work. I love my work, but I don't know if, 88, come on.
At some point, I'm packing it up, and I'll hand out carts at the Stuff Mart,
No, I could see you either at Myrtle Beach or at Hilton Head.
Oh, I'm thinking maybe Myrtle, maybe somewhere along what they call the Grand Strand. Yeah, I like sun.
Rachel, take care.
Thanks, guys.
Our great friend Rachel Sutherland joining us. Coming up next, a popular morning television crew says the president has dementia. Number one. Number two, you have a billionaire wanting to impeach the president. But before that, the latest out of Nevada.
A federal judge has offered Cliven Bundy the chance to leave jail during his trial, and he said no. Bundy's trial is on charges involving an armed standoff that stopped a government cattle roundup 3 years ago in Nevada. But he refused to leave jail while others are still behind bars awaiting trial. He didn't give a reason in court, but his attorney called him, quote, a very principled man. Bundy could have joined his son and a co-defendant in being freed, with the judge offering house arrest with GPS monitoring. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Holly in Caldwell at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Holly.
Hi, Kevin. Hey, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the great things that are happening in the Bundy case in Nevada. It is in the news that Ammon just chose to take pretrial release. Cliven declined that but was offered that. But the real story, which really isn't in that soundbite, is that it happened 24 months after their incarceration. And, we live in the United States of America. And in the United States of America, by the Constitution, individuals, especially ones without any kind of prior record, have the right to bail, to counsel, and to due process. And that has not happened in this case. And I think that is what really the news should be reporting. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the reason that this happened is because after 13 days of trial, after 2 years of finally going to trial, what happened was the BLM director in Nevada on the stand admitted that they didn't have a court order to gather the cattle, that they were supposedly going to round them up to give back to the Bundy family, all of the things which are a bunch of lies. And I mean, I guess the biggest thing is because they finally got pretrial release because there was so much bad stuff that was unearthed by the prosecution, by the BLM, and some misconduct even by the FBI, that these people had to be let go. And I think we just really encourage people to go to BundyDefense.com. This case is not over just because they're out on pretrial release, but they really need some financial help just to make sure that these attorneys can afford to file these expensive motions to get these good people out.
Well, will we see Ammon in Idaho?
You know, he's on pretrial release, so I don't know the details of that. As far as I don't think they'll let him come back to Idaho until the case is over.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that has been unearthed. You know, when they have to go behind closed, sealed doors to scold the prosecution heavily. And one of the other things that came out is this has been going on since the 90s when there was a calculated agenda against the Bundy family and all kinds of other ranchers in Nevada to take away their property rights. It has to do with impeding their ability to use their permit, which really they came by because they had homesteaded the place. The water rights, if you don't allow a rancher to use a certain area of the ranch and they don't use the water, then they lose the water right.
Have you seen?
And this has happened over 5,000 times in Nevada.
Have you seen that movie American Standoff?
Yeah, it's amazing. They do a really good job.
No, and I urge people. I don't know. I'll have to see if it's on YouTube, but usually I think you just have to get it if you only have DirecTV, and a lot of my friends don't have DirecTV, but it is one of the most fascinating.
It is on YouTube, and they do a pretty good job. There's a few things that aren't exactly accurate, but it's pretty good.
Well, you're a little feisty here today. I'm going to call you not Feisty Tom, Feisty Holly, but
sorry.
No worries.
I guess what is hard for me to understand is, and even some people in my own family, they believe the sound bites on the media, and they say it was an armed standoff when it wasn't. They didn't have any weapons on them. You know, even Ryan Bundy in his opening statement said, I stood side by side with the sheriff until the sheriff said, hey, we're going to let the cattle go, which is totally true. I mean, Dave Bundy,
but they did have the weapons pointed at the federal officers on the videos and such.
Well, they didn't have them personally. There were some people that came to, but basically one of the things that happened is after a year when, you know, the discovery in a
Now,
case.
wait a minute, Holly. You've been Facebooking me like 75 times a day, and now this is the second day in a row you're calling, and you won't even let me get a word in edgewise. I'm feeling a little inadequate here.
Okay. Go ahead and talk.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The only thing I was going to say is the American Standoff, though, and I understand there's some things that you don't like about it, but I thought it did a really good job of talking about the Hammonds and what they went through with the BLM and their prosecution. To me, it really set the. So for people like myself that have only read about ranchers and farmers and such, it was a great education for folks like me, is what I was trying to say.
You're right. My dad actually runs a ranch that the Hammonds send their cattle to in the summer, and there was stuff that I even learned that I wasn't aware of, that how long that had gone on. You know, I met other ranchers since this happened, like the Hage family, and, you know, for years the BLM has been going out and gathering cattle and violating impoundment laws and rounding up cattle, and then there would be, you know, the cattle yards wouldn't take them because the brand inspector wouldn't sign off on it, so they'd hold them at the wild horse corrals trying to find people to buy the cattle. So this is really a long ongoing thing in Nevada. It's not just the Bundy family. It's a thing about taking property rights through the water right laws. So.
Indeed. Holly, anything else? Because, you know, we've only had you on for 27 minutes, but we enjoy talking to you.
You know, I think that's the case. But if people can go to BundyDefense.com, this case isn't over. Their attorneys all the other attorneys are paid by court orders, the ones that are really making success. And it's not just about getting the Bundys out. This is about protecting Americans' First and Second Amendment rights to defend their own property. If they can go to BundyDefense.com, and even, you know, small donations will help, that would be great. So.
All right, Holly, don't be a stranger.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, our friend Holly joining us at KIDO Talk Radio. We go to R&R with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. R&R, welcome to Friday. Good morning.
Thank you, Kevin. Holly's voice this time of day and the truth she speaks is just great news to us that know that I don't pretend to know a whole lot about anything other than how destructive and vile the law in Oregon was and continues to be. Leroy Finicum sacrificed his life to save all the people that were in that vehicle that day. And I would love to hear from the people that survived that ordeal. Truth be known, the vehicle has been confiscated and is riddled with bullet holes, and that's part of the story that's never been told.
R&R, not to interrupt you, but you bring up a very valid point. It's been how long, and we haven't had the vehicle released? Where's the transparency?
There's over 114 bullet holes in the carcass of that vehicle, and it was intended to mass murder everybody that was in that vehicle going to Grant County. Now, Leroy is a hero in so many ways, but his children are left without a father, and I was just hoping that maybe yourself and maybe some of others of us that are large in stature could get in turkey suits or chicken suits or something and rally together and get some money to defend the Bundys, because as Holly says, it's far from over, and we could make national news if there's lots of patriots out here that listen to your early morning on both sides of the Snake River. We could easily get a group together in the safety of Idaho and earn enough money to defend the Bundys and their children. I know the LDS Church has provided quite a bit of food and support, but and I honor Clive, and he's absolutely right. If he takes the martyrdom role, which he really has, the truth, there's a lot of unspoken background truth as far as what his property and value is, and everything was contrived to made up about the story, and all the appointment of the judge and on and triple jeopardy, how many times they've been tried on the same. But this thing's been going on for years and will continue to go on for years, and I understand Cliven's position until they're all released and they're all found not guilty. He's a hugely generous and wise man, and I give him my kudos and respect this morning. Thank you for my airtime, Kevin.
God bless, R&R.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. More coming up next. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll continue to monitor the situation concerning tax reform. It looks like it might not be on the road to success. Imagine that. Boy, if the Republicans can't do it, who can? Coming up next hour as well, we're going to talk about a guy, Tom Steyer, who wants to impeach President Trump. That's right, impeach President Trump. Of course, there were never any really big money conservatives that put their money where their mouth is and decided to try and impeach President Obama, right? Think about this. This guy is a billionaire, so he's spending money on TV ads urging people to join him in impeaching President Trump. By the way, for those of you following the North Korean situation, well, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I don't know what they were rallying for. Perhaps they were getting ready for the Mountain West Championship game. 6:57 is our time at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safe and keep it here as we continue on. We're looking for Dorothy Moon, Representative Moon. We're going to try and get her on today. She was with Ammon Bundy when Mr. Bundy was released. We're also looking for more people associated with that case. Coming up, Megan Barth. I always want to call her Reagan Barth. You ever notice that? From ReaganBabe.com. We'll talk a little bit about Donald Trump, tax reform, and, of course, the Democrats still not getting over the chance to try and get rid of Trump. And where are the Republicans? Plus, I'm sure she'll say a lot more entertaining things coming up next hour, plus the latest from Fox News, Fox News Radio. And, hey, if you're looking for something to do tonight, why don't you join us at Eagle Christian Church? We will be hosting the Idaho Chooses Life Rally. Tickets still available. You can buy them at the door at Eagle Christian Church. Festivities begin at 6. Kickoff at 6:30. Silent auction. And not only that, but the regular auction with our friends from Corbett Auctions. It's a great time. Well worth the drive if you're going out into the hinterlands in Eagle, right on the border of Star, and celebrate faith, family, freedom, and life. We'd love to see you there tonight. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.